underliggande, the underboards cut. I haven't done very much filming today because it's really stormy, it's been a storm on the coast, so it's very windy, and I'm sure the sound will be spoilt by that. And also the work that I'm doing is a bit boring really because it's very repetitive. Every board that I'm laying, I'm putting with the margle, the stomach wood, the inside wood, margle, it's called in Norwegian. I'm putting that all facing outwards, and I specifically ordered wood that isn't planed on either side because there's a lot of confusion about that in the modern building practices, and I'm using the more traditional way of doing it. I don't agree with the modern way of doing it. I think it's a mistake. So I'm using the traditional precedent, which is that all the boards, both the under and the overboard, all have the stomach out. It's only -2 today, but it's really cold. It's probably the coldest day has been to work since I started the project. Although I've had days when it's been -15, this is more chilly. I feel right on the edge of it being too cold to work really. It's with the high wind speed. It drains your energy and you feel a bit chilly all the time. It might look like there are a lot of pieces left over, but I'm pretty sure most of them are going to be used up. Although I'm cutting these long boards almost in half. There's some half boards that go above and below the windows, and also these blocks that go in between each underboard. They stop the mice from going in. I think I'm going to do them actually larger than those two there that you can see in this image. I'm going to do them 15 centimetres long, so they fill the whole of that gap. I think it'll be better for the customer when they use the space inside it, they don't drop things and lose them inside that gap there. Here you can see the great many pieces that are cut. I'm going to separate the boards, so I'm going to have a horizontal line in the gable. So I'll use the shorter boards in that triangular part at the top, and then I'll cut systematically the longer boards that go underneath. There's something to note when you're making a wall like this. I'm using the windows as the basis for my decision making with the boards. I start at the window. You can't really see those ones at the back, but on the far wall. I'm going to go round and show. The sound is going to be appalling here though because it's really windy. You can see it from here. Okay, so you can see I started at the window and started working out towards the wall. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the window. And that's because I want the spacing to be correct. It turns out to be very good. I've been a bit lucky with that. I don't actually have to mess around too much with the boards there. But it's quite important for a neat finish that you take consideration of these things before you start. You can't just start at one end and expect it to be correct. Unless you have various size of boards, but I don't. I only have two sizes, one for the overboard and one for the under, and I can't mix them up because they're different thicknesses. The one underneath being 19mm and the one over the top being 22 or 23. So that's not much filming today, but that's the little update as far as it goes. But for the gable end of the building, I'm going to split the wall boards horizontally at the bottom of the triangle of the gable. So there'll be, I can use up all my small bits of, well, not waste, but you know, it's called half cup. These shorter pieces, because the height of the wall is about 220, the bottom part of the wall. So I don't have boards that are as long as 4 meters. I think they're they're certainly not 440. I don't think. So I get rather a lot of small pieces. So by dividing them up, it's a traditional thing, and it actually is quite nice. Visually, it looks quite good to do that. And it means that there are smaller parts, so it's easy. It's better for changing timber in the future, changing the boards if they get rotten in, well, you know, however long it takes, 90 years, 100 years. So I can use some of the 6-inch stock that I've got left. It's 6-inch by 3-inch, 150, I think it's about 150, 80. So I can cut a piece like this out of it. There's a drip edge, and the top boards will go down on that, and the bottom boards, both layers, will nestle into that pocket there, so you won't be able to see the ends, which gives me a little bit of leeway with the height. So that's a good thing. And I've just made this small piece just to kind of mark up with and test to see if it works, that concept. I now know the length of those lower boards, 2 meters 21, with a 15-degree angle on the bottom edge to make a kind of drip edge. So that means I've checked it on the actual gable, that board there, so I can actually see it visually, so I don't make sure they haven't made a kind of mathematical error. And I actually know the system. I actually know how many boards per meter now as well, because I've already done some. Which means I can cut the whole lot at that length now. So I'll just clamp a piece of wood on there, and then I can cut all of the boards at that length. don't need that bit in the bottom anymore. Now to divide in this section in the middle. I see that's my gap size, and that's the gap plus the board. That's 20 centimetres. So I measure 20, and then the board is on that side. 20 and 20. Now that there is the centre mark, and the board would have come here off centre. A bit like that, you know, would have come there off centre. So I move that board into the centre, and then I divide the gaps slightly differently across those. Instead of having a full 10 centimetre gap, I can have a little bit less. That way the overboards are symmetrical across the building. The underboards just have more overlap, and you won't actually see that, and that difference is very small. It's just a few millimetres divided over all of them. So so I'll have an underboard here, halfway. there are some definite pros and cons. Am I recording? Yeah. There are some definite pros and cons with using a hand plane as opposed to using an electric plane. Apart from it being quite good exercise. Because you're following the shape of the piece of wood much more accurately, you're not taking a lot of wood off that's unnecessary. You're just taking the surface off. The reason why I've done this now is because there was a little ledge where the two directions of the saw didn't meet perfectly. And that little ledge might have actually caught water when the planks stand down on it. If there's a little gap, it actually catches water in the gap. So it's quite important that that top surface is smooth. So I mean, okay, my chisel is very sharp at the moment, or it's not too bad anyway, and obviously that takes time to set up. But you just nip to the car and collect the chisel, I mean the plane, and do the work, and it's pretty quick, I think. I mean, it's slower when you're doing it, but the whole process is quite fast because you don't have to get the machine out, you don't have to put it away. And invariably electric planes, they cut too deep. I don't know. I mean, obviously you can get good at using those as well, but I don't mind not having one. I have had them and have used them loads, and I'm in no great hurry to buy a new one because the hand plane isn't that much worse a tool for doing the job. I mean, obviously if you're producing loads and loads, then you need to use the electric one. It's a matter of budget really. But not only that, but now there are a lot of tool markings. I mean, I've got the markings from the saw blade and I've got the markings from the hand plane. Now all those things, I'm quite happy for them to be there. They show how it was produced. It's a barn, it's not a palace. I don't want things to be technically a problem and make the thing rot. That's why I took that ledge off. So it's not an aesthetic reason for doing that, but there's an aesthetic payoff as well. I mean, you get an aesthetic bonus because it looks nice. But as I said, I'm not going to make it better than it needs to be. So that'll be for that. Oh, there's something I forgot to do, and that's a little cut here as a drip edge. So when the water goes over the edge, it stops on that point and drips off and doesn't go and get pulled along the horizontal surface into the boards. For this cut, the guard gets in the way for the 45-degree angle cut. So I've had to wedge it out of the way. Obviously, when it's like that, it's very dangerous, and I won't leave it like that very long. Just for this cut. It didn't hold, it just dropped down again, so I'm not going to bother trying to redo it because I'll just do the rest with the hand saw. There's only a tiny bit left there. Alright, that'll be good. Battery's just about to go. That's quite good. Like that. I might have to bolt that together and get a new battery for the camera. Just one that's a little bit short. Well. Machines don't fit through the wall anymore. I've got a plug maker, so I can. I'll make a few wooden plugs and plug up those holes. I don't actually have any overboards here with me now, but also they're a little bit thicker than these ones. These ones are 19 and the outside, those ones are 23. So you can see it. It'll be just really good. Apart from that hole. I could always change that board, I suppose. I think I've got plenty to spare. Alright, that's just I've had to do quite a lot of paperwork today because we're ordering the roof, so there's not much. I haven't done much practical work today. Been measuring and stuff and ringing. Welcome back next time.